This is Peter Hopkins coming from the World Equestrian Games. Here I am with Mr. John Lyons. John, hey, thanks for being with us here today.
Oh, you bet, Peter.
Well, we just had a chance to re-image Charlie, and I think last week we did a full scan for you and demonstrated what a equine thermal imaging can do for a horse. Before we get into that, John, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and the industry you're in, how long you've been in the business?
Well, I've been in the business. I've actually given clinics full-time since 1980, and I don't try to add up that number of years, but it's been more than a couple, and so I'm involved with horse people at every level of training, from the Olympics down to the person who just wants to play on the ground with their horse and enjoy their horse. And so whether it's gaited horses or reining horses or dressage horses, I pretty much over the years have done pretty much everything.
Oh, that's amazing. Well, I know your title is America's Most Trusted Horseman. How did that come about? I mean, I tell you, I feel honored even to be here. You're probably the most humble guy I know, and it just seems like, you know what you're talking about when I listen to you. How did that come about?
Well, it actually started, America's Most Trusted Horseman just started coming up because people would tell other people they just trusted me. You know, they trusted what I said, and what I said worked as far as their training, and they liked it. So it just kept coming up, and then finally it just, announcer picked it up one day, and it started from that. And horse people have been so nice to me over the years. They really have. I don't think there's any better group of people than horse owners, or any more giving group of people than horse owners, because their animal is so large. They actually, when they're tired and they don't feel like going out and taking care of it, they still do. And so owning a horse is not like owning a dog. It might be cold outside and you come home late and you're tired, and you can just throw a little dog food in a dog dish and go right to bed. Well, a horse is not that way. Horse people actually have to be very giving people, giving of themselves and their time and their effort. They spend a lot of time going to work, just simply to be able to house, take care of, and play with their horses. So they generally are just absolutely excellent people.
I'm sure over these 30-plus years you've created a pretty good following. I know it's a pretty easy website to get to.
Well, yeah. It was one of the first horse training, or horse trainer websites, I think, on the market. I don't know that for sure, but it was one of the beginning ones, that's for sure.
Our goal with equine thermal imaging is to demonstrate the abilities of what we can do. And last week we imaged Charlie, and we had an opportunity to went through our interpretation. Tell me your initial thoughts on the process and what you thought of what our end result was.
Well, I'll start with the end result. I thought the end result was outstanding, and I thought the information was outstanding. Even me as a layperson looking at it, when I looked at the images, when you first showed me the images, I pointed out, before you said anything, I could tell where he had created more heat in his body, like all in I believe it was on the left side, on his back. That was all much hotter than, the right side was much hotter than the left side, which meant that he was trying to compensate on that left side and protect his left front leg, so I thought that as a diagnostic tool, even for a layperson like me looking at it, you could see immediately where he had sore spots and where his body was trying to compensate, from that, or for that. So I really liked it, and I thought I certainly have seen lots of x-rays, and we've had x-rays on Charlie and digital x-rays. And that stuff is really expensive. I had digital x-rays done in both horses this last year, and it was like $2,100. It was an absurd figure, and it was necessary, but, because both horses had sore legs, and so we're trying to check them out. But the end result is we didn't do anything. I mean, there wasn't anything special to do from those X-rays. So, you know, I've seen digital X-rays, regular X-rays, and of course, you know, when you palpate a leg or you feel the leg and you do a lot of comparison from right to left on a horse, you know, you try to figure out what side's sore, what's not, and there's all kinds of different hand tests you can do. But this is, I felt like, such a much clearer picture of what was going on with the muscles and not just the skeletal system, but outside the skeletal system. So I really like it for that. I don't think that you can throw all the other diagnostic tools away, but I think this is a very, very powerful tool that gives horse owners, you know, a direction to go, you know, a kind of a quick direction to go and say, look, this is where he's sore, you know, and this is where he's getting a whole bunch of extra blood flow, and it's in those muscles and they're hot because, and then you really can tell. So I honestly, this has been my first experience with it, but I think it's a great diagnostic tool.
Well, that's really our goal is making awareness. And, you know, you talk about palpating and, you know, believe it or not, our human touch is sensitive to 2 to 3 degrees. The camera that we use with Charlie is actually sensitive to 1/20th of a degree, and they've actually proven that we can detect lamenesses up to 2 weeks prior to clinical awareness. So it actually is an amazing tool. And the physiological aspect, as you talk about X-rays, those are anatomical imaging, so it sees the bone structure. But the other aspects that we talk about, the soft tissues, the nerve, the muscle, tendons and things are definitely seen with infrared technology. And so I hope the listeners here find a definite advantage to thermal imaging. John, would you recommend it to the listeners here today? And, you know, this technology, when they have a lameness that's just not diagnosed, would you recommend this?
Well, I would not only recommend it for a lameness that you already see, but I think it would be a great idea, you know, on a performance horse to have the imaging before the injury shows up. So I think it would be excellent to have a baseline image that you could say, okay, my horse is sound, everything is great, but you have that. Like, I keep all the ultrasounds that I have done on the horses, the X-rays, I keep all that. And so I have a good baseline. If something does go wrong with my horse, I have something to compare it to. So I think rather than waiting, you know, for a problem to show up, you know, I think that's a great thing to use it when problems show up. But at the same time, I think it'd be a great idea, and it's not an expensive, you know, technology to do. I mean, it wasn't very expensive to do. It's like $250 or something.
Correct. It is.
And that's a great deal to be able to have not only a soundness check done on your horse today, but it gives you a great baseline, you know, if something does happen or a lameness does start showing up.
Correct. Yeah, as you said, you can spend $2,000 in X-rays and not always have all the answers. That's not, sometimes it's not even a complete horse that you can have. But to have a full horse imaging around $300, which, by the way, that includes the veterinary interpretation too. So it's what we're talking about here today, equine thermal imaging. John, if somebody wants to find you on the internet and find more about you, for those who may not know about you, I'm sure it's a very small round, but how would they find you?
Oh, it's easy. And there's lots of people that know about me, but anyway, so just john.lyons.com.
Simple enough. John, thank you so much. I appreciate you being with us here today, and thank you for such kind words that you had about our process.
Oh, you're very welcome. I wouldn't say it if it was true.
That's what I like to hear. America's most trusted horseman, John Lyons. Thanks so much. Thank you for listening in with us today while EquineIR caught up with Mr. John Lyons. John is known as America's most trusted horseman for a reason, and we're happy to introduce him to the benefits of EquineIR technology. If you are interested in having a scan yourself, you can visit our website at EquineIR.com. Also, while there, you can see the opportunities that exist in becoming an EquineIR technician. You can view the links and connect up with our blog at unitedinfrared.com/blog. You can also capture the links on how to follow us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. This is Peter Hopkins for EquineIR. We hope to see you on the trail.